HOA Karen told everyone my pool was public, so I filled it with colored gel. Part 1. Wait, who invited you? I came home after a grueling shift, just wanting a shower and a nap. But instead, I found chaos. 3 toddlers in floaties were bobbing in my pool. A teenager was grilling hot dogs on my deck. And some woman I had never seen before was applying sunscreen while lounging on my patio furniture, like she owned it. One kid actually looked up and asked, "Hey, mister, got any more ketchup?" I blinked. I scanned the backyard again, wondering if I was hallucinating. Nope. Over 20 strangers were scattered around like they were at some hotel pool, laughing, splashing, eating, drinking. Then a guy in cargo shorts raised his soda and shouted across the yard, "Hey man, your place is awesome!" And that's when I heard the words that would flip my world upside down. "Karen said it's community access now." "Excuse me, what?" My jaw hit the pavement. Who the hell is Karen? I didn't have to wait long to find out. The truth came unraveling fast, like a bad mystery novel with a very obvious villain. Apparently, Karen, the self-declared queen of our HOA, had told the entire neighborhood that my private, fenced-in, personally paid-for backyard pool was now a public amenity. Why? Because I didn't keep a tarp over it. That's right. According to her twisted logic, an uncovered pool meant it was implied community property for neighborhood enrichment. It was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard in my life, until I saw it. A pastel pink flyer, taped to my own mailbox, an official-looking HOA Aquatic Access Policy, printed in Comic Sans and laminated. She'd gone door to door handing these out. Some neighbors actually believed it. Not only believed it, they celebrated. People treated it like a neighborhood upgrade. Like my backyard had just been added to the community clubhouse. When I finally found her, Karen was sitting near the fence, in yoga pants and pearls, sipping tea like she was Queen Elizabeth on break. I stormed over. "You need to get off my property." She didn't even blink, just smiled, holding up a laminated flyer like it was law. "Jason," she said, "this neighborhood thrives on shared spaces. You really ought to read the HOA's fine print." I'd read the fine print, and nowhere did it say that my private pool, built with my own money, now belonged to the HOA. But she just winked, like she'd already won a court case, and walked off. That's when more families started showing up, dragging coolers, setting up towels, bringing floaties like they were checking into the Holiday Inn. I tried to reason with them. "This is my property," I said. "This isn't covered under the HOA. You're trespassing." One mom just shrugged and said, "Well, if Karen said it's okay." Then, someone's kid poured fruit punch into my pool. My hands clenched, my jaw locked. I was seconds away from losing it. And that's when I saw it. Spray paint. On my back fence. 2 words. Public Oasis. That was the moment I snapped. I didn't sleep that night. While Karen and her army of inflatable flamingos dreamed of HOA domination, I sat at my desk, sketching out a plan, one that was loud, ridiculous, and absolutely unforgettable. Part 2. Welcome to the Jelly Trap. At first, I thought about crocodile decoys, even looked up octopus rentals for half a second. But no, that wouldn't be enough. I needed something bigger, something so absurd, so petty, so brilliantly theatrical, that the entire neighborhood would never forget it. That's when I stumbled across a Japanese game show online, where contestants tried to walk across pools filled with gelatin. I nearly choked laughing. Then I stopped laughing. Then I ordered 600 gallons of pool-safe, ocean blue, non-toxic colored gel. Oh yeah, this was happening. Karen wanted a public pool. She was about to get one that would jiggle her little HOA world apart. The next morning, I stepped outside sipping my coffee. A stranger, someone I'd never seen before, dived into my pool like it was spring break in Cancun. That would be the last time. They didn't know it yet, but JELLO justice was coming, and it would wobble. By the next day, the neighborhood group chat exploded. Karen had announced an emergency HOA unity meeting, but not at the community clubhouse. No. She was hosting it, in her garage. I had to see this circus for myself. I showed up quietly. About 20 neighbors were already there, folding chairs, lemonade, even a poster that said, "Jason's pool belongs to all." Karen stood in front like she was running for office, with her sidekicks, Sandy and Deborah, clapping like trained seals every time she paused. "Neighbors," she began, "some individuals oppose shared amenities, but unity is stronger than selfishness. And so, on behalf of the board, that's me and a few others, we declare Jason's pool community property." She actually said that, with a straight face. I stayed quiet, just filmed everything with my phone. Then came the testimonials. Sandy stood up and said the pool healed her back pain. Deborah claimed her kids finally made friends because of it. Another guy said he was saving hundreds not driving to public pools. I wanted to laugh, but I let them finish their comedy special. I had what I came for. I walked out without a word, drove straight to the warehouse district, and met Luke. Luke ran a business supplying extreme game show props. He looked like someone who lived on caffeine and chaos. When I explained what I wanted, 600 gallons of gel, slippery, reflective, safe for tiles but impossible to ignore, he didn't flinch. He just said, "Cool. You want UV shimmer added? No charge." This guy was my spirit animal. I called my cousin Marcus that night. He was in, no questions asked. We scheduled the operation for Friday night, right after Karen's community swim. That evening, I played it cool. I smiled when strangers drank beer on my deck. I nodded when Karen passed out Etsy coupons like she was a celebrity. I even waved like I had finally accepted my fate. But inside, I was glowing with anticipation. As the sun dipped low and the last pool crashers left, Marcus pulled into my driveway with 2 industrial tanks and a monster of a water pump. We drained my entire pool into a holding tank. And then we filled it. Barrel after barrel of shimmering blue-green glowing jelly. It took 4 hours and every ounce of energy we had. But when it was done, my backyard no longer had a pool. It had a glowing, rippling, alien lagoon. Even the moonlight shimmered on its surface, like it knew something wicked had just been born. We cleaned up, wiped the area spotless, set up the hidden cameras, and I went to bed, like a king guarding his gooey fortress. The trap was set, and in the morning, it would spring. Part 3. The bounce heard around the block. Saturday morning, the sun was shining, birds were chirping, and I sat in my backyard, sipping coffee, calm, patient, like a villain waiting for the first domino to fall. At 10 a.m., sharp. They arrived, Karen, strutting in that absurd sun hat like she was running a royal garden party. Sandy, yoga mat in hand, like she was prepping for aquatic meditation. Deborah, smug as ever, carrying gluten-free muffins like this was a church picnic. The usual suspects. They walked straight toward my pool and didn't even blink. The surface looked perfect. Too perfect. See? The top layer of gel was still and glossy, reflecting the sky like a mirror. It looked just like water. Until Splat. A kid, probably 8 years old, ran full speed, jumped in, and bounced. Yes, bounced. Not a splash, not a sink. Just a loud, squishy boing, followed by a face full of wobbling blue goo. The silence that followed was delicious. Then came the screaming. "What is this? What did you do?" Karen screeched, eyes wide with fury. I leaned back, took a sip of coffee, and smiled. "You wanted a public pool," I said, motioning to the wobbly chaos. "Well, welcome to it." People were stunned. One dad burst out laughing so hard he nearly fell into a lawn chair. A group of kids started jumping on the jelly like it was a trampoline. Phones came out. Videos were taken. Laughter spread like wildfire. Karen, on the other hand, looked like someone had just slapped her with a pie made of shame. She stormed toward me, her sandals making slurping noises with every step across the gelatin. "This is vandalism," she shouted. "You've ruined the community." I tilted my head. "My pool, my rules. Unless you're saying it's not public?" Her mouth opened, then closed. She froze, like a glitching NPC in a broken video game. Her own twisted logic had trapped her, and everyone was watching. People were laughing at her now, really laughing. "Gelgate!" someone yelled. Karen turned, horrified, as a dozen phones caught every second. What was supposed to be her grand HOA power move had turned into the most embarrassing HOA meltdown of the decade. I had only wanted to take back my pool, but I had just become the star of the neighborhood's favorite new sitcom. And Karen? She had just bounced into meme history. Part 4. Karen meets her gooey match. Karen's face was a masterclass in meltdown. Her eyes twitched, her jaw clenched, and her feet, still half submerged in wobbling blue gel, made those horrible wet slurp sounds with every angry step. She bent down, scooped a handful of the stuff, and stared at it like it had insulted her ancestors. This is chemical warfare," she shrieked. From across the yard, someone whispered, "Bro, she's actually losing it." I nearly dropped my mug from holding back laughter. Then, like a storm rolling in, Karen spun on her heel and stormed off. I figured that was it. Until 20 minutes later, she came back, with a cop. Yep, Officer Daniels, a local guy, known for dealing with HOA nonsense more than actual crimes. He walked up, clipboard in hand, clearly regretting every life choice that led him to this moment. Karen flailed her arms like a wacky, inflatable tube man. "He put foreign chemicals in a recreational water body. There are children. This is a hazard." Daniels looked at the pool. He knelt down, scooped a little of the gel onto his finger, gave it a sniff, bounced a tennis ball off the surface. Boing. The ball launched upward like a failed science fair project. Then he looked at me. "Is this your property, sir?" I nodded. "All mine." "You know what this stuff is?" Without missing a beat, I handed him the original product label and safety sheet. "Biodegradable, non-toxic, won't damage filtration systems, pool safe, certified." He raised his eyebrows. "Clever," Karen shrieked. "Clever? Clever? He's weaponized his pool." Officer Daniels tilted his head. "Ma'am, you said this was a community pool. If it's public, then technically, it's available for public use in any form. If it's private, then he can do whatever he wants with it." Then, that glorious pause. "Which is it?" Karen froze. Her mouth opened like she was about to scream, then slowly closed again, like a cartoon character choking on her own logic. She stomped her foot, literally stomped, and stormed off again, muttering something about calling the mayor. But by the time her door slammed, The internet had already seen everything, because 3 neighbors had filmed the whole mess, Karen vs. Gelatin, round 1, and posted it to every app imaginable. The captions: HOA Karen discovers jelly pool and implodes. Justice served wobbly. Best HOA drama of the year. It went viral before lunch. And Karen? She wasn't just losing, she was trending. Part 5. Going viral wasn't the plan, but it was perfect. By sundown, Karen's tantrum had racked up over 200,000 views across TikTok, Reddit, and YouTube shorts. People weren't just laughing, they were cheering. One guy stitched the video saying, "This man is a legend. I'd bring chips just to sit by that pool." Another wrote, "I don't even live in an HOA and I'm mad for him." I started getting tagged in videos. Memes flooded the neighborhood Facebook group. One had Karen's face pasted on a bowl of JELLO with the caption, "Serving cold justice since 2024. Even the HOA's usual bootlickers were oddly silent. Except Karen, of course. She tried to rally the troops, called for an emergency protest in front of my house the next day. 4 people showed up. One left halfway through to take a selfie with the jelly pool. Another asked if I'd sell glow-in-the-dark JELLO for birthday parties. The tides had turned. And Karen, she was spiraling. Then came the final straw. A local news station picked up the story. They didn't interview me. They just aired the footage with dramatic music and the voiceover. When one man fights back against HOA tyranny with gelatin, the anchor ended the segment with, "Honestly, I'd swim in it." The moment it aired, I heard Karen's scream echo from her house like a banshee losing a debate. I poured myself a drink, turned on the underwater lights I'd installed just for fun, and watched the gel shimmer in glowing green and deep purple beneath the surface. It looked like something out of a science fiction movie. People started gathering again that evening. Families, teens, even the grumpy old guy from 4 doors down. Kids poked the jelly with sticks. Adults took selfies. One mom asked if she could host her kid's birthday party there. I just smiled and said, "As long as you don't bring Karen." They laughed. But not everyone found it funny. Because the next morning, I woke up to find a laminated complaint letter taped to my front door. Bold red letters across the top read, "You've been warned." Signed at the bottom, Karen, with a glitter pen signature, "Naturally." So I sat on my porch, sipping my coffee, and whispered to myself, "You want escalation, Karen? You're gonna get it." Because if she thought a JELLO pool was my final move. Oh, she hadn't seen anything yet. Part 6. Karen's meltdown was just the beginning. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I found myself squinting at a drone hovering above my backyard. It buzzed like a metallic mosquito, floating there, steady, like it was watching me. Max barked once. I looked up, then followed its path, straight across the street, right into Karen's second-floor window. She was watching me, recording, probably building some ridiculous case. I raised my coffee mug to the sky and whispered, "Smile for the camera, Karen." An hour later, I heard a knock, and this time, it wasn't a kid asking to poke the jelly. It was Paul, the newly appointed interim HOA president. He looked tired, like he'd aged 5 years in 5 days. "Jason," he sighed, "we need to talk." He sat on my patio chair, hands clasped, eyes on the pool, still shimmering like a liquid gemstone. "She's not letting this go," he muttered. "She's calling the city again, talking about code violations, permits, even zoning laws." I raised an eyebrow. "Zoning laws? For dessert?" He didn't laugh. "She's saying the jelly is a hazard, that it attracts pests, that it's a psychological danger to children." I nearly choked on my drink. She wrote that, didn't she? I said. Paul nodded. Verbatim. I handed him the city inspection report from last week. All clear, signed, official. Even had a comment from the inspector that read, "Weird but delightful." Paul chuckled under his breath. Yeah, that sounds like rye. Then he stood, looked me in the eye, and said the quiet part out loud. She's losing, and she knows it. But Paul wasn't there just to warn me. He was there to ask a favor. Can you tone it down? He said. Just a little. To give the board some breathing room. I stared at him for a long moment. Then I walked him to the gate, patted his shoulder, and said, Paul, the jelly is toned down. That's the terrifying part. That night, I made a decision. I'd play her game, but I'd play it smarter. I ordered new lighting rigs, set up a donation box labeled Karen Relief Fund, and installed a sound system that played soothing spa music on loop. Then I posted an official notice to the neighborhood page, to the community. As requested by the HOA, the pool has been assessed and deemed safe, non-toxic, and fully compliant. In the spirit of community, we welcome respectful visitors to enjoy the jelly pool from outside the fence. Feel free to take pictures, poke gently, and reflect on how absurd things got over dessert. It went viral. Again. And this time, I wasn't just a guy with a pool full of goo, I was a neighborhood icon. Karen, she was just background noise in a story that now belonged to everyone, but deep down, I knew she wasn't done. Not yet. Part 7. Karen's final strike, or so she thought. The next day, something strange happened. No yelling, no flyers, no HOA drama, just silence. I should have felt relieved. But in Karen's world, silence wasn't peace. It was preparation. And I was right. That evening, as the sun dipped low and the jelly shimmered neon green under the backyard lights, I heard the unmistakable sound of heels clicking on concrete. I didn't even need to look. It was her. She stood on the sidewalk, arms crossed, clipboard in hand like a prop from a bad courtroom drama. Then, she held up a folder, waved it. "Certified letter, Jason," she barked. "From my attorney." Oh boy. I walked over slowly, took the envelope, and smiled. Inside, a laughable stack of papers accusing me of emotional sabotage, pool terrorism, and, get this, psychological manipulation via gelatin. I nearly burst out laughing. Karen actually had someone draft a cease and desist demanding I immediately drain the confection-based aquatic body. I folded the letter, slipped it into my back pocket, and said nothing. Because the next move? It wasn't mine to make. It was the internet's. That night I uploaded a video. Not a rant, not an argument, just a montage of Karen's greatest hits. Screaming beside the jelly pool, yelling at the police, pacing with a measuring tape. Her shop vac jelly attack, in glorious slow motion. I added playful music, subtitles, and I titled it, When HOA Karen Loses to a Pool of Gel. By morning, it had over 3 million views. People were laughing, commenting, cheering. They dubbed me the Gel King and called Karen Queen of Entitlement. She couldn't take it. By noon, Karen deleted all her social media accounts. By evening, her house lights were off, her porch empty, no more flyers, no more shouting, and just like that, the clipboard was retired. But me, I was just getting started. Part 8, Jellybration, the goodbye party that changed everything. A week passed, and not a peep from Karen. No mysterious complaints, no passive-aggressive notes, not even the sound of her visor snapping shut like a judgmental jaw. It was eerie, but beautiful. And with that peace came an idea. Something to mark the end of this saga. Something fun. something final. I called it Jellybration, a farewell party for the jelly. I printed out neon flyers with bold letters. Come bounce, slip and slide one last time, before we drain the goo. By noon on Saturday, the crowd was already forming. Kids in jelly-themed t-shirts, parents holding whipped cream and lawn chairs. Even Greg, the guy who used to side-eye my lawn gnomes, showed up with JELLO cups and glow sticks. I'd gone all out. UV lights glowing under the pool like a sci-fi lagoon. Jelly-themed music thumping through floating speakers. A rented bubble machine. And a DJ remixing Karen's meltdown into a dance track. Yes, you heard that right. "This is vandalism," she screeched, now auto-tuned into a bass drop. People danced. Kids bounced on the jelly like it was a trampoline. One teen even dressed as a giant spoon and ran slow-motion laps around the yard. And me? I stood on my patio, holding a mic, and said, "This all started because someone told me my pool wasn't mine. But tonight, this is ours. Not because we were told to share it, but because we chose to celebrate together." The crowd roared. As the final beat dropped, I flipped the switch. The pool pump groaned to life, and slowly, the jelly began to swirl, melt, and drain away. People clapped. Some even saluted. It felt like the end of a movie, a gooey, glowing, glorious finale. But little did I know, Karen had one last move. Part 9. Karen's final move, and the letter that changed everything. Just when I thought it was over, that the jelly had been drained, that the laughter had settled and the neighborhood could finally breathe easy. A plain white envelope appeared in my mailbox. No return address, just my name, typed in bold font and taped shut like a ransom note. I opened it slowly, and inside wasn't another HOA warning. It was a letter from a national company, one I'd never heard of, that specialized in creative outdoor installations. They had seen the viral videos, heard the remix, and laughed through the animated Karen meltdown. And they weren't just fans. They wanted to collaborate. Free upgrades, sponsored gear, even a feature in their magazine called Backyard Legends. My jaw dropped. They offered to help me transform the pool into a permanent neighborhood wonder spot, complete with seasonal themes, custom lighting, and interactive installations. All because I stood my ground. With gel. I sat down, stunned. This all started because Karen wanted to turn my backyard into her personal playground. Now I was being asked to turn it into a landmark. It was wild, surreal, and honestly, deliciously ironic. I tucked the letter into a folder labeled "Things That Happened Because I Said No to Karen," and that's when I saw her, standing across the street. Karen, frozen, expressionless, staring at my mailbox like it had just declared war. I raised my glass to her and smiled. She blinked, turned around, and slammed her door. No more clipboard, no more flyers, no more fake HOA decrees, just silence. Not peaceful silence, but the kind that says, she knows she lost. And I didn't gloat. I didn't mock. I just walked out back, tossed a new beach ball into the empty pool, and whispered to Max, "Guess we're gonna need more gel." Because Karen told the world my pool was public. But I turned it into a legend, and the legend was just getting started. Part 10. The end of Karen and the rise of Jellyfest. Weeks passed. Karen's house? Quiet. No more angry stares, no more passive-aggressive notes taped to my mailbox. Just silence. Her porch light stayed off. Her iconic visor? Gone. Even the HOA business-only sign had mysteriously vanished. It was like she'd evaporated. But the neighborhood? It was never livelier. People waved more, kids played louder, and I started getting requests I never saw coming. One family asked if they could host their kid's birthday beside the jelly pool. Another offered to shoot a music video in my yard. Someone even asked if I'd consider running for HOA board president. I politely declined that last one. I'd had enough clipboard drama for a lifetime. But something had changed. No one looked at my house and thought, troublemaker, anymore. Now, they saw creativity, resistance, revenge served cold, and jiggly. So I did something bold. I launched an idea I called Jellyfest, a once-a-year celebration of color, fun, and the day Karen lost the neighborhood. No rules, no speeches, just lemonade, snacks, neon lights, and a fresh batch of jiggly glowing gel in the pool. Flyers went out. Decorations went up. By noon, the place was packed. Neighbors laughed, danced, took photos. Even old Mr. Donnelly brought cupcakes with red jelly on top. Someone stuck cocktail umbrellas into the pool again. A teen DJ played a remix of Karen's Tantrum, and the crowd roared with laughter. I stood on the deck, raised a cup, and said, "To creativity, to standing your ground, and to never underestimating the power of dessert." They cheered. And across the street, I saw one last flicker in Karen's window, a silhouette, watching. Small, defeated. I didn't wave. I didn't gloat. I just turned and cannonballed into the jelly. The crowd erupted. That splash wasn't water. It was victory, because Karen told the world my pool was public. But I turned it into a festival. And, in a world full of rules, bullies, and clipboards, sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is to bounce, one jiggle at a time. Epilogue, the legend of the Jelly King. Years from now, kids who weren't even born during Gellgate will hear about it from their older siblings. The man who turned HOA tyranny into a jiggly act of rebellion. Some called me petty, some called me brilliant. Most just called me the Jelly King. The colored gel is long gone now, but the spirit, still very much alive. Every spring, a little flyer shows up around the block. Saturday, noon, bring a spoon. No explanation, no RSVP. But every year, they come. Because sometimes, a ridiculous idea is the exact thing a community needs to wake up. I didn't start this war, but I sure ended it. Not with fists, not with fines, but with laughter, lights, and a pool full of jelly. Long live the jiggle. Long live the legend. And may every neighborhood Karen think twice before messing with a guy who owns a blender, a backyard, and a very vivid imagination.